Welcome to the Platypod evening session, the one I told you about earlier today a few times. And what we're going to do this evening is a lot of learning. We're going to jump right in, but first I'm going to introduce the guy behind Platypod and behind all this learning that he's pulled together from fabulous photographers around the world. His name is Dr. Larry Tiefenbrun. He invented the Platypod. Dr. T, good to have you on.
Oh, and it's great to be back, and it's such an honor to be back at Photoshop World 2025. Larry Becker, you and I met 10 years ago at Photoshop World 2015.
Oh, yeah.
Can't believe it. Over 10 years that we've been doing this, but I'm very happy to be here, very excited. Guys, we got a lot to talk about, and we're going to give you a little glimpse into what you're about to see.
Yeah, check out this video because you're going to learn how to capture video or images like this. It is going to be fantastic. Now, you saw those amazing images, and those were collected by Larry T. from just amazing photographers, fantastic folks that he knows. And he got the behind-the-scenes story from all of the artists, all of the photographers who created these. So, Dr. T, with that, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you walk us through what we're about to experience.
Okay, guys, and again, thank you. It's a pleasure to be back here giving a discussion called Platypod Presents Portrait and Product Lighting. And guys, you are going to learn a lot of things. We're going to be presenting at many different levels, beginner, intermediate, advanced. There's something here for everybody. So we're going to dive right into this. Before we get going, I just want to, for those of you who are new to Platypod, quickly introduce our equipment, and then we're going to move right into the photos and the teaching and the behind-the-scenes setups. So first of all, Platypod has two basic tripods. This is called the Delta. This one's called the Extreme. I'm going to send you to the website later on if you want to learn more about those. We also have a third base, and this is called the Platypod Basic, and this is basically to accommodate our Platypod mag grip that can hold your phone. Cool. Okay, so there's a lot available for everybody. Quickly, some of the other pieces of equipment you're going to be hearing about. This one's called the handle. It's a riser. And just zooming in a little bit here, this allows you to raise up your equipment, whether it's camera or it's lighting equipment, and put it up a little bit higher. This will go up to 10.5 inches height. Okay. And let's see, a few other items. We've got two ball heads, a smaller one called the Platypod Platyball Traveler ball head, an inexpensive compact ball head, but quite mighty, will hold up to 15 pounds and has a full panning base. This one's called the Platyball Ergo, a little more heavy duty, push button controlled, and it has a big brother known as a Platyball Elite, which I don't have right here, but that one also has an electronic leveling indicator on the back of it. And again, I'll send you to our website for more details about that. You'll be hearing a little bit about elbows. This is our Magic Arm style elbow. One control, okay? One knob locks 3 joints and 2 collar rings to let you twist this around and position items. Those often go together with our goosenecks, which allow you to attach lights and other equipment, which also hooks up to the Platypod mini super clamps, which will allow you to hold things like reflector cards, mirrors, twigs, forks, spoons, knives, all kinds of things. So that's the general introduction. One other little piece of equipment you'll hear about is the 3-inch spigot adapter. This is super important. You're going to see this in almost every setup that we've got, because this is what allows you to attach a lighting adapter here, kind of like this. These go right on here, and these are universal adapters, so it will allow you to hook on your lights to Platypods, and we're going to show you several setups for that as well. The spigot adapter is not sold separately. It's part of a kit called the multi-accessory kit. And for those of you attending live at Photoshop World, we're going to talk about that kit later, and we might just have a special offer for you if you stick around to the end. Larry, I think I covered all our basic pieces. Is there anything that I missed?
No, I think you nailed it, and that will help us as we get into it, because we'll see a lot of behind the scenes from these just amazing photos, and you'll see how the photographers are using this gear instead of, because there are so many times that you can't use a tripod, a big tripod, and so they use a Platypod instead. There are times they need to move their gear up, so they use the handle on the riser. You're going to see all that coming up, but it helps to understand up front, number one, what are these great images going to look like that you're about to learn how to do? And also, number two, what is this gear that holds everything together that is from Platypod that will help you understand what's coming? Dr. T, take it away, and let's jump in and show some of these amazing portrait photos.
Okay, guys, we got a lot of ground to cover. If we're moving a little too fast, write down your questions, or you can put questions in the chat. We're going to have at least two and maybe even three of our photographers. Kirsten Lutz is in the audience, and also Bob Coates is in the audience. So if you have questions on their images, feel free to go into the chat, type them in, and they can answer you in real time. Okay, here we go. The first slide that we're going to show is just a basic classic portrait studio lighting setup. Beautiful dramatic lighting with using light stands and equipment commonly used in professional portrait studios. Now we're going to give you a whole bunch of ideas for lighting that can be done on the fly with an incredibly compact set of equipment that'll provide dozens of creative effects. And just for future reference, I wanted to point out that this lighting that you see here on the left shows something called Rembrandt lighting. You might have heard about this from some of the other speakers today. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in just a few minutes, but we're going to show you how to do this type of lighting on the fly in someone's home without having to drag around all these light stands. So let's go to the next image. And here you see a final result. This is called again, Rembrandt lighting here, and this is just nice broad lighting here. On the desktop, you can achieve the same kind of thing, that Rembrandt kind of lighting. Again, we'll explain it a little bit more. Now, Platypod Pro Kirsten Lutz, who also shot the previous studio images, now shows us a different way to do this using a bounce reflector setup. You see the reflector up here in the left. Now, we could have probably done this with one magic arm and one clamp. He got a little bit more sturdy here and used two of them attached to a Platypod handle and extreme. Both styles of lighting that you see here, where you have a little triangle of light here, and we have more broad lighting because the subject is turned into the light, these are both correct, but they offer different types of effects, and we're going to get right into that now. Now, here's one more way to achieve this type of lighting without using a bounce card. You can use an umbrella, either by shooting through the umbrella, pointing at the subject. Here you see it reflecting off of the umbrella back at the subject. But look what gorgeous lighting you get in this situation. I'll show you for a second what that umbrella setup looks like. Let me pull back out here. Okay, so you just take one of our Platypod handles, spigot adapter, add that on top. And again, this is called an umbrella adapter. This hooks right onto the spigot adapter. We've got a little flash cold shoe clamp on here that will hold just about any strobe, any flash on top of there. And then the key ingredient here, this one's made by Westcott. It's a folding shoot-through umbrella. And this one you can see opens really big. I think this is 42 inches. And then it hooks right into here to allow you to reflect onto your subject. So I'm not going to go further into that setup just because of time, but Very, very helpful piece of equipment. Inexpensive. I think you can get a umbrella adapter for between $25 and $50. The umbrella is also maybe $20 or $30, and be able to get this type of lighting. All right, back to the slides. Now I'm going to show you an effect that I didn't even know I could do successfully, and that's to achieve Rembrandt lighting with a light that is close to the camera. So let's talk about this for a second. So one more way to achieve the Rembrandt effect, feathering the light, is feathering the light with a softbox, allowing just a sliver of light to point to the subject, even from a few inches away from the camera. What is Rembrandt lighting? It's a portrait lighting technique where the main light is placed about 45 degrees off to the side of the subject and about 45 degrees above the subject, creating a small triangular patch of light under the eye on the shadowed cheek. And you can see that triangle right over here, okay? And we'll talk in a second about something called closed loop, which this is, and open loop in a moment. And this is used for dramatic yet very natural looking portraits. And it's because if you look at Rembrandt's paintings, his subjects used to be seated off to the side of a large window, providing this type of light. And he used it heavily in his art. Now, this can all be done on a tabletop with a Platypod and 1 or 2 handles. Now, in this case, we added the 3-inch spigot adapter, like I showed you before, and a ProPhoto Click Octabox attached to a ProPhoto A10 flash, triggered by the ProPhoto Connect Pro Flash, the Connect Pro Flash trigger. Now, and I'll thank ProPhoto for lending us this equipment. Let me show you very briefly how this is done. So here is the softbox. It folds up really pretty compact. It comes in a little bag, okay? Not cheap, but you'll see how handy this is. This unfolds from the back. It's kind of a semicircle here. Unfolds here. And I'm showing you this for a reason as to how it made this shot work, okay? Then that entire assembly can go right on to your Platypod setup. And this has a real easy twist lock over here. It also has a trigger on the handle here, so you can pitch this back and forward just with the squeeze of the trigger. All right, and then the flash just hooks right onto the back like this magnetically, and it stays, and it really works. So what I did in this image was, starting off looking at the subject, you see the light like this, and it would fill all the shadows in. But if you angle it way off to the side like this, you're going to see just a sliver, just like that, just a sliver of light, and that will give you the effect that we're showing over here. Now let's go into the next image, and you can see what happens when I shift from pointing a little off to camera right, where you can see a little bit brighter on this side because it's reflecting off of a white closet next to the subject. Then the next image here basically is even lighting on both sides of the face. Now, as I swing way off to the side, first we get an open loop. Open loop means where the highlight over here goes past the lip and into the chin. And then when I swing over a little bit more to the side, getting that sliver of light, here we have the full closed loop Rembrandt light, where the highlight ends around the lip and does not go into the chin. This is all in shadow over here. This is classic Rembrandt lighting, achieved in a very, very simple fashion, something you can stick in your camera bag and take to anybody's house if you want to do portraits there. Notice also the slimming effect. Here, straight on lighting, filling in everything, and then the face seems to get slimmer and slimmer. So if you want to really flatter your subjects, this is a great way to do it. All right, next we're gonna start having a little bit more fun, getting away from the classic effect. And we're going to talk about a single light silhouette. So here, Kirsten Lutz went with his model, Sienna. And Sienna's standing in front of this wall. This was done in the Leahy Street Arches in the London Underground. It's a former maintenance tunnel for the trains below Waterloo Station that's now dedicated to showing off street art. Access is free to the general public if you're ever there and you want to go and see this. So the setup is one single strobe behind Sienna, about 3 feet from the background, pointed up to the background. There is a reflector dish on there to prevent light splashing back and spilling back onto her. And look at what you get. One light just on the background, nothing on the subject. Now, you can see the lights in the image here. Well, with a little Photoshop, you can use whatever technique you like to just pull those lights out. Just like that. And you have a beautiful image. And here's the final one we selected as the hero shot. And I just love the composition over here, all the diagonals going through. But you see, you can have so much fun. Now, we've all seen a lot of silhouette shots done on a white background. Here's one with a really interesting background that complements the image. Next, same place, totally different lighting, and a totally different effect that you'll see. So it's two strobe colored rim light setup. Both strobes are mounted onto the platypods in the fashion that we showed you before on the 3-inch spigot adapters. This light on the left, I did a little call out here. This light on the left is covered with a red filter or gel, whatever you want to call that. And this one over here has a blue gel. One is lighting one side of Sienna, the other is lighting the other side, and check out what you get. So the areas that only receive one light, well, this side gets blue, this side gets red, and anything in between, such as the light spilling on the background, is a combination of the blue and red, which, as you all know, is magenta or purple. Next image. Let's talk a little bit about clamshell lighting for portraiture. Very important. I think if all you learn from this portrait section is how to do Rembrandt lighting and how to do clamshell lighting, you will have a tremendous toolkit to make your portrait images much better.
And I'm going to invite people to look in advance, pay special attention to her eyes, because we all look at the eyes of portraits, and in this image you see gorgeous eyes right now, and that will be the how is going to be revealed in this session.
Thank you so much, Larry. That's such an important point. And yes, we're going to show that in 1 or 2 slides from now. So the classic setup for this clamshell lighting would employ a heavy-duty C-stand with a boom arm, perhaps counterweights, a beauty dish or a softbox overhead, a large catch light reflector, which often takes about 10 minutes to set up, and to bring out those the colors in the lower half of the iris, and that's the catch light that Larry's talking about. There's a second light, the little white highlight that's coming off of the softbox. So here is how some people would shoot this, the before image, using on-camera flash, which I rarely, if ever, recommend doing unless you have a reason for it and really know what you're doing. Essentially, this is a mugshot. And notice the shine on the face here, on the cheeks, the shine on the brow, and harsh shadows under the chin here, this harsh, sharp shadow here, lighting cast onto a dull background, which is supposed to be low lit so that it brings out the main subject. And you have thin and harsh shadows here under the collars and hardly any texture in the clothing. And we'll get back to the final image in a minute once I get to show you the clamshell setup. So this was done. Hey, Mom, look, no light stands. This was all done at Kirsten Lutz's home. with there's a pergola in the backyard with these beams above. So what he did was he took a platypod, in this case the Extreme, but you could do exactly the same thing with our smaller Delta, and he screwed it into the beam over here. Then he put on the 3-inch spigot adapter and attached on to that his strobe light. Now, one thing, this section is going to be using mostly strobes. You're going to see in the product section, we're going to be using mostly LED continuous lights. But the strobes give a lot of power to fill up these soft boxes. So he's got here his Godox light and a Godox deep dish parabolic soft box, lighting onto the subject and also casting light onto this reflector, which is sitting on the table. It comes with a reflector holder, and that mounts right into the same spigot adapter and the handle and a platypod sitting on the table. Final result, going back to what you saw, now the shine is gone from the brow, the nose, and the cheeks. Texture, beautiful texture in the hair. The background is beautifully low lit, the way it should be. Texture in the clothing, soft shadows under the collar, soft shadow under the skin. This is clamshell, and they also call it butterfly lighting because of kind of the butterfly wing shadow under the nose. And it's a slam dunk. This is the way the clamshell lighting should be done, and thank you, Kirsten, for an excellent image. Let's continue. We're going to have a little more fun, guys, with lighting, which generally you should never do, except in this case. So here's just the ambient lit shot, just with some overhead fluorescent lights. Okay, nothing too dramatic there. Once you change that out and put a strobe light on the table, facing up at your subject, look at the kind of fun you're going to have. Ghoulish lighting, and this result is absolutely and quite intentionally horrific. And take your pick: full color, high contrast, black and white, or in Photoshop. If you want to layer these two images, you can just paint in a little bit of blood here and have some fun. This is great for you, for those of you who are going to want to make some interesting Halloween images. I think Kristen had a lot of fun with this one, with his model, whose name is B. Yes, B-E-E. She did a great job here. Here we have Sienna back in the image again, and I'm going to show you how to do hair light in the forest with no light stand in the background. And but maybe you don't want it to show in the background and have to paint it out in Photoshop, or there's just no place to put a light stand. So what Kirsten did was he daisy chained two of our Platypod straps. And for those who've never seen that, here's a Platypod strap. You get this in our multi-accessory kit together with a spigot adapter. You can daisy chain two of these together. We also sell thinner straps. That's a 36-inch strap. These are 20-inch straps, and we sell this in a pair of two. And when you put them together, you've got a 40-inch strap, which can get around most medium-sized tree trunks. So again, back here, you see it wrapped around. It's got a Platypod that is hooked over that, and both the Platypod Extreme and Delta have kind of hook sidearms that will allow you to do this. And he's got his strobe here. And as you see in the left-hand image here, that's just casting a little bit of light to give you rim light for separation from the background. He's got his main light over here. This one is on a light stand pointing at the subject. So one main light, one rim light, and the final result is just a beautiful image. Now, when you're doing hair lighting, rim lighting, most beginners tend to overblow that light. Dial it down so that you're not getting a blown out highlight over here. You can see how it just lights the hair, but you still got color in the hair, and just lights her left arm camera right over here, separating this nicely from the background, and beautiful light coming in over here on this side. Any questions on that, Larry?
No, I want to visit there because it's amazing.
So, and notice no light stands in here because the light's way above here strapped onto the tree. This is great for engagement photos for couples, so you can take them into a forest, just put up a hair light. One other nice thing that you can do with this, if you ever need to hold up either an umbrella or a reflector and you're afraid of the wind blowing it over, you can mount those in the same way, strapped around onto a tree, and they will stay in place. For our last portrait light, Larry, I'm going to let you describe this one here.
Sure. You can actually see what's going on here. In the larger photo in the top, you can see the main light, and that's on a light stand. But then you see on the inset photo, there's a floor light. So this is a 2-light setup. The one strobe with the snoot on the top light pole is for dramatic, what's called short lighting. And the definition of short lighting is where the side of the face toward the camera is in shadow, while the side turned away from the camera is lit. In contrast, broad lighting would be where the side of the face is turned toward the camera, and that would be lit, while the far side, turned away, is in shadow. So you'll be able to review this talk and replay in a week or two after Photoshop World is over and see which images applied short lighting and which ones applied that broad lighting. The main point, however, of this image is to show that when using such dramatic lighting, you're probably going to lose some of that detail in the unlit areas. Since the snoot is being used to really focus light, a reflector card will not be very helpful. So it's important to just add a small amount of additional light to fill in those shadow areas. This is done.
Larry, if I could comment for 1 second about snoots. If you need to shield your lights, and you don't have these plastic or metal snoots or barn doors, you can make it yourself using this wonderful tool. Now, this I bought about 35 years ago, and I still have plenty of it. It's basically aluminum foil that's painted matte black or colored matte black, and you just cut off a piece as you need it, and you can shape it, and you can tape it to your lights with just some gaffer's tape. And for example, I have one taped onto this mini flash strobe forming, and this is what's called a snoot for those of you who may not know. Larry, thank you for allowing me to interrupt that. And
yeah, I love cinefoil. I'm glad you pointed that out. So what you can see here with that inset image is the extra booster light that I'm talking about to actually fill in some of the really dark areas helps a lot. And you can see how it affects things if you go to the next image. There we go. It's an amazing boost to that low area. So that low area where all the lighting, that would all be crushed. So note the texture in the leather chair. Look at those rivets and just a hint, a kiss of light on the pants, the shoes, and the socks. So we're not promoting this or this kind of rum or any other alcoholic beverages in this presentation. Nevertheless, it's an effective portrait. So thank you so much, Kirsten. That's it for the portrait section of this presentation. Let's jump into the product lighting section.
And but before we leave this slide, again, I want to point out short lighting. The side of the face away from the camera gets the light. The side of the face here towards the camera picks up the shadow. This is one of the most dramatic lighting effects that you can use, and I think very appropriate over here. The softer setup would either be Rembrandt or using just pulling the light from camera left here onto the broad side of the face, and so that would be broad lighting versus this short lighting. All right, I want to show you something. This will be probably the most useful tool, besides your platypods, that you'll pick up in this show today. As we get into the product section, this is a book called Light, Science, and Magic, and it is now in its 6th edition, which you can see here. I pulled this off of Amazon. This is a book that is used in practically every college photography major course that students have to take, because it teaches you the principles of how to light products, how to light plastic, how to light glass, how to light metal, and we're going to show you some of these things here. But for further understanding and proficiency in this, I highly recommend, if you want to do product lighting, buy this book. I think almost every professional photographer who's involved in this kind of photography has read this very book. And let's dive right into the glass section. So this section on product lighting is being presented so photographers at every level can learn something useful. In each genre, we're going to start with a basic setup, and then we're going to progress into more complicated and advanced setups. And believe it or not, these are basic setups, and we're going to show you how to do this. Glass is one of the hardest materials to light properly, and I highly recommend that everyone tries this at home at least once. Play around with it, learn the techniques. So here's two examples of the basic setup, and it's really much easier than you would think. First, the high key image. High key, most of your pixels are light in the whitish range. Low key, here, more dark pixels in your image. Okay, so how is this done? Well, first of all, notice that in the high key image, in order to be able to see definition in the glass, you got to give it black or dark lines. Okay, in the low key image, you want to do the opposite and give it white edges over here. Plus, there'll be another challenge of filling in texture in the middle. Let's see how Kirsten Lutz did this. And Kirsten, I believe, is also in the audience tonight, so you can ask him questions, and I'll refer you for more details on this very shot. Kirsten made a video on our YouTube channel. The way to access this is to go to platypod.com, click on Learn. This is our blog page. We put up at least 1 or 2 blogs every week here, and you'll be able to get to Kirsten's video very quickly. Or you can go to YouTube and look up Kirsten Lutz stunning glass bottle shots. But I think this way is a little bit easier. All right, for the high key image, Kirsten took a softbox, in this case an octabox, put that behind the bottle. The bottle is right here in the middle. You can hardly see it. Put it on a reflective table, anything with a high gloss surface, a sheet of glass or plexiglass would work nicely. And what he did was, to get the black edges on, he brought in 2 black foam core cards here, one on this side, one on this side. Now, if it's this close in, you'll have to edit this out of the picture. You could possibly pull it further back with larger cards and achieve the same effect, and really not even have to crop it and replace some of the background. And these are being held up by our Platypod elbows and clamps right on the deltas. It just gives you an extra set of hands to be able to do this with. For the low key shot, we do the opposite. Instead of having the white softbox right behind it, he has the softbox, yes, it's behind it, but he interposed a black card behind here. And what that does is it allows this little bit of white light to come and outline the edges of the bottle. But then he's got to fill in the middle, because that's kind of going to black. The way he did that, now this is a little hard to see in here, but you'll see it better, I think, in Kirsten's video. He's brought in 2 reflector cards. You only see black here, but the other side is white, and that's kicking back some of this white light from the softbox back into the object here and filling in the light. And again, final images, beautifully, beautifully done, and please try it at home. Now we're going to move over to Platypod Pro Bob Coates, who will show us how to do product photography in many other ways. And we're going to step up the game a little bit here, guys, so fasten on your seatbelts, okay? This may be a little complex, and if so, Bob is in the audience as well. You can ask him your questions. The before image. Okay, this is just with standard ambient lighting. The after image, much more professional looking, beautiful red background. You've got light highlights here in the bottle. You've got some dark highlights here on the stemware. And I will tell you one little hint. If you're going to be shooting clear stemware like this, take a good amount of time to clean it well, polish it well, get rid of dust, get rid of smudges. It will save you a ton of time in Photoshop from having to do this later on. Here's the setup. Larry, I'm going to hand this over to you and I'll point out what you're talking about.
Sure. When you look at this, we'll start with the background, and there's a tube, like a lightsaber kind of light, a tube light or a wand light that is tunable to anything in the RGB spectrum, and that's hidden behind the wooden board facing the black background, producing a deep red light. This is going to be best done with a black background, otherwise the color comes out somewhat faded. That same light is shielded from the object in the photo by a strip of black foam core, which you can see diagonally positioned behind the wood board. Now, looking at the right hand behind the scenes image, a round translucent scrim, actually Bob used 2 scrims clipped together for extra diffusion to avoid hot spots. There's an LED light on the left shining through that. Another card is positioned all the way to the left to reflect just a touch of light into the bottle or onto the bottle. And then I will point this out again in the final image. The light on the right and the card on the far right will be brought into the scene for a double exposure, as we show in just a moment. So in this one, you can see the front view showing the white card on the right used to bounce light back into the image. Here's what Bob did for the double exposure that I mentioned before. If you look at the left-hand image, there is no contrasting rim on the camera right side of the bottle. Bob said the only way he was able to get a thin rim there was by doing a second exposure with a white card right near the bottle, applying a very thin rim to that same side of the bottle, as you can see in the right-hand picture.
Hey, Larry, if I can interrupt, say you won't see it right in here because obviously he hasn't fired his strobe in this shot, but you're going to see that rim on the final image.
Right. And then the entire right half of this image was masked out in Photoshop, leaving the original image visible on that side of the photo. It's kind of hard to follow, but if you do, you'll be very, very capable. Again, there is no specific cookbook for this. However, there are plenty of principles that can be used. In the final analysis, you establish your basic setup for the lighting, and then you add and move and remove lights and scrims and white reflectors and black reflectors as needed to produce the desired effects. And then you
well, for the next shot, pardon me, Larry?
And then you end up with an image like the one that we just skipped past.
Oh, and there we go. And you can see that now, that white rim of light that was brought in by the second exposure.
Yep.
All right, so here's a high key example of what we just showed for, and this one's using using acrylic containers. Same principles apply here as with glass. The trick is to highlight the edges with light or dark reflectors as needed, and then kick back some light to fill in any other objects such as the pasta. The left-hand image demonstrates what happens when only the white background is lit, and the right-hand photo is the final image using additional lighting. Let's take a look how this is done. Here's the overview of the setup. You can note the round scrims here and here that are used to soften the lighting. This also provides the main lighting for the background paper. A flashlight is held up high right over here to provide a little bit of extra highlight, especially for the jar laying down on its side over here. When reading the Phil Hunter book that we just showed you, the Light Science and Magic book, your concept known as the family of angles, which
Oh, we lost Dr. T's audio.
Of light.
Oh, there we go.
Pardon me?
Dr. T, we lost your audio right when you mentioned Phil Hunter. Would you pick up there again?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Okay.
Okay.
When reading the Phil Hunter book, you're going to learn a concept known as the family of angles, which is considering light reflected camera and how to use those angles of light either as needed to bring out the results that you want. And here you can see a little bit more detail as to how lights that are approximately the size of an iPhone. In fact, Bob is using the Platypod mag, our iPhone tripod support, together with an adhesive magnetic ring that's included, applied to the back of this light. And there is the final image. Larry, do you have any comments on that?
It's interesting. You were dropping out occasionally, but I was able to follow along, and the final image is amazing.
Larry, since I'm having a little audio trouble, I'll let you describe this this image.
Sure enough. And when you get into wood, and again, this is all about those different textures Dr. T was talking about in the book, and it is hard when you consider that lighting requires different things for different textures, and you'll see that here. So this is a relatively simple setup of a beautiful Asian wood carving. The top photo is shot using ambient light, and the goal with the wood is going to be to bring out texture and color and avoid too much glare from something like varnished surfaces. Now the left-hand photo shows light reflected off a bounce card to bring out grain detail of the wood and increase contrast. The special sauce for this is that there's no special sauce. Images like this take time, and they take patience and a lot of repositioning of those lights and those cards to get just the right shot. And again,
And are you hearing me okay now, Larry?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I had a little data rate issue. Sorry about that, guys. All right, and a beautiful final image, and you see such beautiful texture in here, and really we're getting rid of those hot spots by just lighting it properly. So now we're going to take wood to the next level. Bowls and peppermill. Okay, on the left side, we see the snapshot with ambient lighting. It's not bad, and this is how most people would probably shoot this still life. However, Bob is showing us how to give this a professional feel with greater depth and warmth to make these much more attractive. Like my friend Rick Salmon likes to say, you can take a picture or you can make a picture. The left one is taking a picture, the right one is making a picture. And Larry, please describe what's going on back here.
Sure, there's actually a lot going on here. And again, there's an RGB tube light behind the wood board, and that's lighting up the background to give a deep orange. And the same lighting tube is also casting a little bit of warm glow onto that peppermill. Now, if you remember, in the wine bottle image that Bob blocked off this light because he didn't want the red light cast onto the bottle, which would nullify the fine white edges. The panel light on the camera left is lighting up the scrim from behind to give a soft light. The panel light over on the camera right is giving a highlight effect to the right side of the peppermill and the rim of the smaller bowl. So have a look at that. The long foam core card, also on to the right, is kicking back some of the main light, and Bob brought in a reflector mirror, you see that, above to bounce back some light into the inside of the larger bowl. And man, just wrapping your brain around this and where all the light is bouncing and that family of angles. There's a small snooted flashlight beneath the mirror to highlight the camera left side of the smaller bowl and to give it more shape and dimension. And these devices were placed one by one as needed to solve a problem in the image.
So next slide, here's another view of the same setup. And if you have questions on the setup, again, Bob's in the audience, you can ask him. And you can see here's a flashlight that was used for a little bit of highlight here and the final result. And you see this highlight in the smaller bowl provided by the light coming from the right. You've got edge lighting over here also from this light, and a little bit of that orange glow coming in here and filling some of the bowl with some of the light coming in from the left. Larry, was that clear?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about plastic. All right, here's a basic image of how to light plastic. So you have two challenges with plastic, especially when it's glossy or even when it's matte. You want to demonstrate the texture. Now here on the left, you have just ambient lighting. There were probably 3 lights overhead in the room and kind of fading into a dull grayish color over here. You want to get that color out. But if you use one hot light, a small source light, you're gonna just get very, very hot spots and really not be filling in that color nicely. Now you get a little bit touch over here. We're gonna show you where that came from, but the beautiful color coming through here comes from properly lighting this. And again, taking into account the family of angles of light approaching the subject and reaching the camera. And again, the book that we showed you before, Light Science and Magic, will describe how to use that tool. So here's a copy stand setup that Bob is using for a flat lay. There's a table clamp holding onto a Platypod Extreme, 2 handles raising up his setup real high. It's got a ball head, in this case, the Platyball Ergo, with another handle sticking out here and the camera looking straight down. And obviously you need this clamp so that the setup won't be front heavy, but this is actually a very stable copy stand setup, yet also very, very portable. If any of you have seen old copy stands, that's a big object to drag around. And this little light over here is kicking onto the background, which is giving you most of the light to fill in the color, nice soft lighting, and a little touch of light coming from one source, not 3, just to give you a specular highlight to show you that these are glossy plastic pieces. All right, let's take plastic and get a little more complicated. This is from Platypod Pro Ellis Wiener, who's technical editor for Professional Photographer magazine from PPA. Ellis was intrigued by the way some Venetian blinds next to his guitar, laying on a table, cast an interesting pattern, which you can see over here and over here, onto his electric guitar. To add a little more interest, he wanted to, because this was kind of a gray and white guitar, so he lit this up with some colored RGB lights on either side. As you can see in this image, he's got some tube lights. These are very similar tube lights to what Bob Coates was using to light his backgrounds. So you've got a magenta one here, you've got this one set to cyan, each one lighting different aspects of the guitar, and you can see the beautiful effects that you get. Now we're going to go on to metal. Metal poses a different set of issues. Shiny metal objects especially reflect exactly what they see like a mirror, especially when you're looking into the flat part of a knife or a spatula like that. If you have nothing reflecting in it, it's going to go black and dark and uninteresting. If you have something nice reflecting in here, like a large, well-lit white card, then you get the idea that this is some beautiful silverware. Now the left-hand image is ambient lighting only. The right-hand image shows you what happens when you do this properly. And let's show you the setup. And again, I'm sure Bob had to play around with this a little bit to get that family of angles of light bouncing right back into the camera just at the right portions, and to give a little bit more texture to the curved areas of the flatware, he put in a little black card over here, which filled that in nicely, and here is what you get. So that little bit of black just gave you some more texture here in the image. All right, this is our final product shot that brings kind of everything we were talking about together. Still life coffee image. So Bob brings together what we were discussing. He's dealing with brushed metal texture in the coffee grinder and the storage container. He's got these softer textures, almost like wood, in the coffee beans and the coffee grounds. A glossy ceramic mug. Now here, this fades completely to black because you've got nothing reflecting off of it. And this is how it would be done as a snapshot. Here's how a professional does it. Now let's talk about how this is done. Larry, over to you.
Sure. Again, hidden from view behind the elevated foam core table is an RGB tube light casting deep blue light onto the background, and it's got that nice fade to it. And Bob constructed a makeshift boom arm out of a Platypod Extreme, 3 handles with a Platypod Traveler ball head angling the boom arm, and a mag grip at the end to hold the overhead panel light, which lights up the coffee beans and the coffee grounds, as well as the top of the coffee cup. Now, the main light to the left, that's illuminating the double layer scrim, casting soft light onto the brushed metal of the grinder and the storage container. A second light on top of camera right, a second light on the camera right side is providing the same effect to the other side of the brushed metal container. Just below that is a small flashlight, and that's snooted with that cinefoil Dr. T talked about to give an extra highlight to the coffee, which will then be reflected off the cup. So here are some details in the behind the scenes shot highlighting the points that we made on the previous file. You can see what's going on in these images and where the lights are, where he's got the double scrim dimming things down. You can see the snoot aimed at the coffee beans and the coffee grounds. And then you see the other light and the large reflecting panel. And the final,
and again, your final result is just beautiful, soft highlights on the left, on the grinder on the left, the metal container on the right. The coffee cup now is lit, but not overwhelmingly from overhead. A small reflection of the coffee in here just to give enough shape and dimension to the cup instead of it going to dark black as in the before image.
And what I like so much about it is the blue that is emphasized in the background, but the blue is not painted all over the objects. It's an amazing approach.
Well, guys, that ends the presentation section. Now, please don't run away because we've got some amazing special offers for you. First of all, in honor of Photoshop World, we are introducing the Platypod Lighting Support Kit. This just went up a day or two ago, just in time for this. And everything you need to get started in tabletop lighting for portraits and products is in this kit. You can add your own strobes, LED lights, flashlights, and you're off and running. And this is compatible with all other Platypod products, so you can add anything you need to down the line. And we're going to show you in a second how to save more, but just in one image, this is the kit. You got a Platypod Extreme, you've got a handle, there's a ball head with our Platypod Disc Arca Quick Release Plate. You've got 2 elbows, and I like to use the elbows like this so that I use the elbows for gross positioning, and then for fine tuning, I can just take the gooseneck on top of it and just twist it up and down. And I believe we have some videos on our website where Kristen Lutz and Larry Becker show how to use this equipment. So by purchasing this as a set, you're going to save over $90.
Okay, go back to the other camera view.
Yep,
there we go.
Off of the original price of the individual pieces, and you can build on it. One piece that is not in that set is the spigot adapter. And special offer just for those attending Photoshop World. I don't even have a slide on this, but write down M15, no spaces, M15, and you'll be able to get our multi-accessory kit $15 off the original price of $39. That kit, again, contains a spigot adapter, one of our Platypod discs, a 36-inch cinch strap, a rubber pad to prevent marring your table or whatever, and to prevent sliding around, and a little cinch bag to hold all that together, as well as our well-known Platypod carabiners for carrying. So again, M15, write it down. I'm not showing a slide on that, and so this way it's not going to be publicized, and that's only going to be up for a limited time only. So I would suggest before Photoshop World is over, if you want to get one or even two multi-kits, you can get two multi-kits basically for almost about the price of one. It's a really, really good deal. So next, Larry, if you want to describe our instant loyalty rebates program.
Sure, and just bring that up on screen so people can see it. When you very first get to the website, you'll actually see this banner, and it's super easy. It couldn't be easier. The code is at the bottom, so it says like 50 off 350, 75 off 450, 100 off 600, and that's the code, and that's what you get. So you get $100 off $600 if that's what you've spent in total. So make sure that you pay attention to that, and you're going to hear in just a minute from Dr. T a little bit more about how to use the codes and how to get the most out of those codes. But when you go to this website, platypod.com, you will see this, and those discount codes matter, and so do the ones that Dr. T is telling you about.
For everybody to understand, these codes are stackable. So first of all, the lighting support kit that I showed you, that's already discounted. You don't need a promo code for that. The way to stack the codes is the following. It's a little confusing, but I'm going to make it very simple. On checkout, when you enter in your credit card, you'll see a little box that says discount code. You put in the lowest price discount code first. So, for example, if you're doing M15 for the multi-accessory kit, enter M15 first, enter it. The box will clear, and then after that, if your total after discount is over, let's say $350, then you'll be able to enter in a code for the Instant Loyalty Rebates program. If you have questions about this or you're confused about it, you can write to us, service@platypod.com, and you'll get a response and we can answer your questions. But you can add one promo code after another. Larry?
We want to make sure that you sign up for the Platypod newsletter. So make sure when you go to the website, when you go there for the very first time, sign up for the newsletter, and there are benefits like lots of great learning, like what you've seen this evening. Plus you'll find out about discounts and insider deals and stuff that's coming before other people find out about it. The next thing that you need to know, speaking of coming soon, we're coming up with a program called Platypodster of the Month. This is where, okay, so you've seen all these great images from these great photographers this evening, but there are groups online where, for example, you can go to Facebook and sign up for the official Platypod website, the official users group. And when you sign up for the official users group, you could be one of the people that gets featured, and we're going to pick people from there to be a prize winner and the Platypodster of the Month, because you've got the best picture this month on the official users group.
And we're going to publicize those images in our newsletter. You'll be officially recognized, and also there'll be a gift certificate given to each winner. So it's a cool deal, and You're going to hear more about it in this coming month's newsletter. We'll be releasing another newsletter towards the end of September.
Next up, you can learn a lot about Platypod on YouTube. Now, if you go to YouTube and just do a search for Platypod, you're going to come up with dozens and dozens and dozens of photographers who have done feature videos about Platypod gear. What you want to search for is Platypod channel. So make sure that you search for Platypod channel, and that's where you will find lists of training videos and demo videos and behind the scenes stuff all about every piece of Platypod gear that's out there. And so if you have any questions about how do you use this piece of gear or that one, it's a great place to go, and you will learn an awful lot. You'll see great interviews with Platypod professionals, lots of great information.
And please subscribe and ring the bell so you get notifications. We are pushing close to 10,000 subscribers. Please help us push that over the top.
Really quickly, I want to bring you back on camera and ask you a couple quick questions. First one, where do we get the rubber feet?
Oh, right on our website. Go to the Platypod website, go to shop, and you can look up the feed. They're called Platypod tips. And there's 4 in a set, hard plastic in the center, silicone rubber at the tips. You can get those there. You can also get them at B&H and on Amazon.
Okay, Cami Brazil from South Carolina says, Larry T, if you don't already have a Platypod bag to carry this wonderful gear around in the field, that might be a wonderful creation. You do have some pouches and things like that, but yeah, people are asking for that. They want to carry all their Platypod gear with them. Next up, Nell C says, these Platypod sessions are so inspirational. I have some of the gear, but I want it all. And now you've got discount codes to get a whole bunch more of it.
Well, this will help you to do that with the new lighting support kit.
No question. There are quite a few tools. What should I buy first for light stands and a tripod for the camera? I think that answers what you were just holding in your hand.
Yeah, I think like I said, this is the good starter kit to get into any of these lighting setups. So I think, yeah, this is a good way to go. Plus, if you're going to be using strobes and speed lights, you want to get the spigot adapter that's available in the multi-accessory kit. And I want to thank everybody here. I mean, the Kelby crowd has been so wonderful at supporting Platypod, and we in turn help to support Kelby Education, sponsoring the grid and sponsoring other programs and just like this, so we can bring some of our education back to you. So really, thank you so much for a wonderful symbiotic relationship. And I want to thank the Kelby organization. I want to thank all of you, Larry Becker, my lovely wife Minna, for supporting me as well here. And I had a great time doing this. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you learned something.
Lots of education. It's great that you've got all this cool gear, but also you've got these cool photographer connections so that you could get incredible images, the behind the scenes.
Oh, yes.
And we can
thank you,
learn all
Kirsten.
about
Thank
it.
you, Ellis, and
Yeah.
and thank you, Bob Coates. I appreciate what all of you have done here to help to contribute to this talk.
Great stuff. Dr. T, thank you so much. Thanks for answering all those questions and for all the special offers that Platypod has in place. And again, those are limited time, so make sure you take advantage of that. Having said that, it is time we wrap things up for this evening. And, well, I shouldn't even say that because there's another thing going on. It's the Film Fest. We're going to that in just a few minutes. Dr. T, we're going to sign off here and pick it up in just a few minutes with the Film Fest. Thanks again for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you all.